Do your Trailmakers builds look like this? Or maybe they look something like this? You clicked on the right video. In this tutorial, I'll be showing you 16 tips and tricks to help you level up your creations. Let's get into it. Tip number 1, the piston glitch. This is a glitch where you can fit parts in your build that previously wouldn't have fit. To use the glitch, separate a part of your build and reattach it with a piston. Click configure on the piston and set the speed to 100. This isn't mandatory, but it moves the part faster. Set the start position to 0 and remove all controls. You can add thrust, weapons, seats, or almost anything to the separated section, and it will no clip into your creation. But sometimes the build will freak out. To fix this, you have to move parts around, delete parts, or replace parts to fix it. That's all you need to know, but I will make a full video on how these glitches work. Tip number 2, the hinge glitch. This is similar to the piston glitch, but uses a steering hinge to angle parts. To start, place a steering hinge and go into the configure menu. Remove the controls and change the speed to 2.0, not mandatory. Set the angle you like and set the steering help to 0. Next, take an altitude sensor and open up the configure menu. Set altitude to -500 and select the steering hinge. You can use this for the leading edge of wings, for tail fins, wing and heat roll, and more. This sometimes has the same problems as the piston glitch, so follow the same procedure to fix it. Tip number 3, more gyro uses. Other than being control blocks, gyros have lots of useful features. If your plane has control issues like oversteering, then a gyro can help. Adding a gyro with no controls and 10.0 strength will dampen the movement in that axis. This is especially helpful in the yaw and roll axis, where oversteering issues are common. Another use is for tank turrets. If you ever made a tank turret that wobbles whenever you stop traversing, then a gyro can help. Do the same. Add a gyro with no controls and 10 strength. Tip 4, the best weapons. Sometimes when building a vehicle, you can't decide on what weapons to put on it, so I made this list to help. You don't have to follow this list exactly, but it gives you a good starting point. The blaster has the highest projectile damage. The rocket is the best auto-aiming explosive weapon. The minigun has the highest rate of fire, and the smart cannon has the best auto-aim. Tip 5, zero torque rotor. There's actually a way to make a helicopter rotor that doesn't generate torque. First, grab a spinning servo and go into the configure menu. Remove the controls, set the angle to infinite, and set the strength to 0. Then, add a gyro with your throttle controls. Mine are R2 and L2. Now, attach your blades, and you're done. Tip number 6, center of forces. Most important part in assuring you have the edge in dogfights is your forces. Having your center of vertical and horizontal stability far behind your center of mass is great for stability, but bad for maneuverability. To help, try adding canards to the front of your plane or hiding small tail fins inside your nose. Unsurprisingly, having control surfaces close to your wings also impedes turn time, so make sure your tail fins have proper separation. Find a good balance of control and turning. Increasing the angle of your control surfaces is also an easy fix, but can sometimes lead to bad energy retention. Tip number 7, basics of lift. If your plane needs a positive AOA to stay level, you need more wings. and if it has a negative AOA to stay level, you need less lift. There are lots of blocks that generate lift in Trailmakers. Pieces that generate lift include large and small modular wings and their respective flap wing variants, and upside-down spoilers. Upside-down spoilers look the best in wings, but lack control surfaces. If you need additional help, gimbal thrusters can also provide assistance. Tip 8. Special decal uses. Most people just use decals for paint jobs and stickers, but they can be used for so much more. For example, you can use them for heads-up displays in cockpits. You can use them to cover textures that you don't want. Like the distance sensor, you can use the signs and symbols decals to make custom text. You can use shield blocks with the glass texture to overlay decals. Just add your background decal and put your foreground decal on the shield piece. And so much more. Tip number 9. Dynamic lights. Instead of just adding headlights to your next build, try these as well. Use the ship's lantern as an afterburner or as a strobe light on your airplane. Use the light bars to add underglow to your cars. Attach the large headlights on a spinning servo to make a spotlight for boats and submarines. Use the tail light on tanks to replicate the ATGM jamming devices found on the T-90A. Tip number 10. Sound design. Using tone generators and the horns can make a decently convincing machine gun noise. Just listen to the difference. Tip number 11. Piston accelerated weapons. Using a piston, we can greatly increase the range of a tank cannon. To start, place a piston and open the configure menu. Set your fire button to the negative keybind, set speed to -100, and start position to 0. Here's where things get complicated. Check the box that says advanced. Then check the box that says auto reset. Set the duration to 0.10. Now add the weapon of your choice. Open the config menu and make sure advanced is still toggled. Now, set the delay to 0.02. Now your gun's range has been increased. You can also add more pistons to make it faster. Tip number 12. Reference images. If you're trying to build a replica of a real-life vehicle, find a good reference image. I look for diagrams when I try to find reference images because they offer multiple angles. They're easy to decipher, and they're easy to measure to scale. What I mean is, let's say you build the cockpit 10 blocks long. Then you can compare the next part of your diagram to the part you built. Now you have a rough estimate of the size you should be building at. Tip 13. Zero drag glitch. Say you make a plane, but it's not fast enough. You can't add any more thrust. The zero drag glitch is perfect for this scenario. Find the block you want to remove aero from, place a detachable block on it, and check the box that says make scrap. Now, add an altitude sensor and set the values to -500 altitude and connect it to a detachable block. Now, when you spawn in, it detaches and makes your airplane faster. Anything detached by the block will work, so you can also add blocks that detach to remove the arrows. Tip number 14. Save your vehicle. Even if you're not done, save your blueprints often. Sometimes unexpected things happen, like the power goes out, or you accidentally turn your device off. Save your vehicle often, that way you can start from where you last played instead of from scratch. But if you forgot to save, not all is lost. Sometimes the game auto-saves your creation in the Recents tab of your blueprints. But don't rely on this, as it doesn't autosave all the time. Tip number 15. Downforce basics. If your car is going at high speeds, downforce is almost mandatory. Generally, spoilers are the go-to choice, but upside-down wings work as well, and also control surfaces. If your car understeers during a turn, it needs more downforce in the front. If it oversteers, it needs more in the back. If you can't use spoilers or aerodynamic pieces to generate downforce, use a gimbal thruster at negative speed for alternate downforce. This also makes the downforce toggleable. Tip number 16, inspiration. Look at other players build or ask tips to help improve. You can do this on YouTube or Discord. Some players have great info that they wouldn't mind sharing. If you like this video and want to see more, hit the like button and let me know if I missed anything in the comments below. If you want to see more of my content, then subscribe. Anyway, thanks for watching and I'll see you next video. Bye.